Ba'avas Hashem. To the Parakut Gimel. So, Avodas Hakel, to serve God, the reason why we serve Hashem is because we're grateful to Him. This is what all the Sfarim say. You have to have gratitude to Hashem. A person has to thank Hashem, Hatov, who's good, and all the goodnesses He does. And because of our gratitude, all of the kindness comes because we're grateful, we have to fulfill all the mitzvahs, all the laws, and all the regulations. Also, there's a hint to this yisod, but we show in the first of the 10 Commandments. That which Hashem revealed absolutely by Mamad Har Sinai. You owe me this, guys. I took you out of Egypt, out of the house of enslavement. Two things I did for you right off the bat. So that's why we have to be grateful to Hashem. So a person can serve Hashem out of yiras onesh, for fear of being punished. So you're afraid and you're terrified that Hashem should not pay you back for things you do bad. And therefore we're going to keep the mitzvahs and the laws. That's the first and lowest level of serving Hashem. Avodas halei, but to serve Hashem one's heart. Avodah which is perfected. Is only for your gratitude. Now I want to explain that. I saw last night a different Michtav. He says that most people in this world who serve Hashem as part of their existence, right? In other words, the way he puts it is like take off Meiser. How do you take off Meiser for Hashem? You daven, you learn, you do mitzvahs, keep kashrus, everything, and in order that the rest of your life you can do what you want. In other words, I want to have a good steak, so I make a bracha on it. But eating the steak is not actually part of my avodas Hashem. The steak is eating the steak. The bracha is something which I give something to Hashem in the beginning, so that it should be okay. So, and most areas of life, he says, don't fool yourself. He says, don't think you're on a higher madrega. Says most people go through life on that madrega where they do stuff for Hashem, maybe even a lot of stuff, but it's in order that they should be able to lead the rest of their lives in the way they want to lead them. And that he says is that's really ultimately that's avoda out of yiras onesh. You're afraid to get punished, so therefore you do things which will keep you in line, so you won't get punished. There's no love of Hashem in that avoda. It's your own trying to keep yourself safe for Olam Haba. You have emunah, of course. You believe in Olam Haba, you believe in schar v'onesh, but your avoda is, I shouldn't mess myself up. Okay, so the only way he says the only way to get out of that, and which most people don't get to, is avoda b'leiv, is working one's heart, because. Obviously, if you're serving Hashem to keep out of trouble, then your heart is not necessarily into it. Your heart is, if I can, I'll go. I want to go to the football game. At the football game, I'll only buy from the kosher stand. But that's really my heart is in the football game, not in the fact that I'm eating the kosher hot dog, right? So I think
going there to watch the game and then saying I'm going to go down the mincha though. At the game, I think
that's a better mushal. Yes, that's a better mushal. Okay, yes, that's better. Okay, you're right.
But is that? But in essence, you're like when you make that bracha on that steak, and you have in mind that like I'm eating it for myself, yes, but I'm still making it a bracha on it. So are you being like mikadosh that eating?
So Reb Tzadok says,
it's still better than an animal.
Yes, Reb Tzadok says brachas all the rabbanon. Right. So he says, brachas according to most opinions. So brachas the rabbanon. It's a great idea to make a bracha. Why did the Torah come up with it? Why it was left for the rabbis to come up with this idea? So he says the Torah wanted you to eat l'shem shamayim. The rabbi said, what?
But it should be automatic.
What do you mean?
When you derive it, should be that every single thing you do is elevated.
Right, everything you do, right.
So
Right.
there's no need to make a bracha on
Exactly.
I'm making a bracha on this,
Right.
making a bracha.
So rabbis said, let's get real. Most people don't function that way. So at least let's have people make a bracha before they eat. So the bracha, yes, it's a good thing, and it makes the eating a steak not an act just of sheer gluttony. But the idea of a real avodah, if we were on that madrega, would be to eat the steak shem shamayim, right? For niflo sabore, right? For the experience of God's wonders and thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for it. Right. Okay.
It's not for you, it's for...
So,
My father, by the way, by the Shabbos table, I don't remember which one he did first. I can't remember for some reason. But he would say, he would take the spoon, take a spoon of soup, and go, Shem Kavod Shabbos. And I think the next one he would say, and this one was Shem Kavod my bike.
okay, he was honest. So, Chazal say, Kol kover b'tavosur shel chaveiro. Anybody who denies a favor of that his friend does to him, eventually he denies the favor that Hashem does for him. As a mamar azeh, this statement, bir niflo, was given a beautiful explanation. One of the great Musar sages, who Rabbeinu Nachum Zev Ziv Tzal Mikem, Nachum Zev Ziv was the son of the altar from Kem. Person conducts himself in all of his activity based on the strengths of his soul. And he means the character traits. Im kasanu, person's an angry person. He'll get angry, and anytime he has an excuse to get angry, that's his nature. He's an angry person, right? Who is a proud person. He'll be full of pride whenever he has the opportunity. In tovu, if he's good, he's not b'toim, and everything he does will be good. The converse, somebody is a bad heart, ra, so he's always going to be bad. A person can't borrow from his friend. It's an amazing statement. You can't borrow a character trait which you don't have. In other words, I can borrow from you money, I can borrow from you a property, I can borrow from you lots of stuff, but I can't borrow your character traits. I have my own character traits, and they're not your character traits. Everybody's unique. So a person can develop character traits, but a person can't borrow them, because by definition, a character trait is you. It can't be superficial, right? So he says, somebody who's an ingrate. He's not going to be that way just towards people. Just like he denies his friends a kindness to him, he's also going to deny Kadosh Baruch Hu's goodness to him. He won't make a distinction. Somebody who is ingratitude is part of his soul. Also, when he comes to Hashem, he's going to conduct himself according to that character trait. On the other hand, somebody thanks Hashem. He feels it all his heart and soul. That he's obligated to pay back, at least in gratitude, all the favors and which Hashem does for him. Express his gratitude in the korban or betfila, whether it's in the korban or davening, asher yagishem lefanam yizbarach, which is going to give to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When he does this, then it's as if the person is giving, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu kivyochol Hashem, so to speak, is kimekabel. And that's it's a game which Hashem plays with us. Hashem says, you know what, I'm going to give you a way in which you can give to me. You'll be the Nosei and I'll be the Makaba. And what's the way you can give to me? If you're grateful to me. Giving to somebody gratitude is also giving. And therefore, the only way we can give to Hashem is by gratitude. We can give to other people in other ways, but we can't give to other people, Hashem, other ways. The only thing we give is gratitude. Even you bring a korban. You may bring some korban to Beis HaMikdash. You bring bikurim to Beis HaMikdash. You're not giving anything to Hashem.
It's not like he eats it.
Right. It's just going through the motions. Right, unless there's intrinsic gratitude behind it, it's not. It's nothing.
Can you say that there's a sense of giving by receiving, in the sense, like if you give somebody a present, you know it means a lot to the other person that you receive this present in a positive
It's
manner?
a Gemara in Kiddushin. Gemara in Kiddushin says if a woman gives a distinguished person a gift, he can say to her, "Hareya mikudeshes li bano shekibalti this present from you." So yes, giving somebody, right?
Meaning, could we be giving that to HaKadosh Baruch Hu by receiving whatever he's...
It better be that way, because otherwise, all the gifts you give to your wife, she ain't giving you anything back, right? So.
Also, how else would you show anything to Hashem? What are you giving to Hashem?
Telling HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I appreciate what you gave me.
That's the same. So if it has to work that way, otherwise,
No, but meaning
the
other HaKaras HaTov that I'm having is by allowing Hashem to give, right? That's what we've been saying is Hashem's greatest good, that He's the no-saying, right?
Right.
But there's a good feeling in being a no-saying, right? So it's kind of
depends on your personality.
I'm saying
Also,
yeah,
like if you're a no-saying,
I love
then
it.
yeah, you feel good giving it. But if you're not a person who likes to give, and you're a stingy person, giving even this piece of paper so you can read is like
Right. There's twofold. Right. There's two effects by being grateful is the fact that you're acknowledging Hashem as the giver, and therefore He can get that kaviyachol hana from giving, but also being grateful by being able to give back in that sense. So,
Right. So there's a book which I read many years ago, a very famous book, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So Dale Carnegie claims he wrote the book Lishma. I don't know if I believe him, because he was a used car salesman. So therefore, I don't know if used, but he was a car salesman. So therefore, really, the book is about how to sell cars. And how to make the buyer your friend. And then if you make it's an amazing thing. You go into a car dealership, anybody who's ever had that experience, and you feel that this guy is your friend, and you feel obligated to him because he's your friend.
and he gave you the best car in the lot.
Right, he gave you the best car in the lot, he gave you the best deal, and
and just for you,
The times I went to car dealerships, the guys were not that good.
what?
The times I went to dealerships, the guys were not that good, obviously, because I didn't feel that.
You didn't feel that? Okay, I'd say, yeah.
They were that good. They
I think that a truly successful car dealer, that's what they do. So Dale Carnegie is teaching people how to be, how to talk to other people, but not necessarily sincerely. So HaChesed also,
David Stotts, by the way. That's the whole.
of course.
Yeah.
So HaChesed Tov, one of the things they teach you in Dale Carnegie is always to call another person by his name. Learn the name and talk to them as they say his name, because that makes people feel good if you know their name. So people HaChesed Tov, also a person can go through the motions, and you can go through the motions of HaChesed Tov to Hashem, right? And deep down you feel, yeah, okay, I gotta thank him, but I don't really feel it. I'm going through the motions. So that's a very important point, which I don't think you make strongly enough here, which is, yes, you can give to Hashem, and Hashem is the recipient, but it has to be that you're really giving and not just going through the motions, which during davening, most of us do. He says if you are that way, that Yizka Adam is El Madrega Achi Gedola. You can reach the highest level. Hadvekus Bo Yizbarach, which you connect to Hashem, you cling to Hashem. Kashe Yidbaka Nosim Mekabel, just like a giver connects to a recipient, then you also connect to Hashem. Shea Ava Gemura Kamur, which is complete love. So he says, okay, you want to love of Hashem. By the way, yeshivas, those people who grew up in yeshiva, they never speak about Avas Hashem. It's never one of the many things they don't speak about in yeshiva, because it's very, very intangible, very hard to deal with. Yira is very easy to deal with. Most Muslims are either about learn more Torah, or you're going to get zapped because you're a jerk. So
Or you're going to Ganem.
well, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So the Avas Hashem is a much more difficult concept to deal with.
I thought Ganem was the principal's office. Okay.
Avas Hashem is a much more difficult principal issue to deal with. So Rav Dessler basically is saying, how do you get to Avas Hashem? By giving to Hashem. Same way you said you get to Ava of everybody else. So you give to Hashem great gratitude. That's the way you can give Hashem. And then, just like you develop love for other people by giving, develop love to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why the madrega of loving Hashem is very high, and it's very difficult to acquire it. There are very few people who fulfill the first mitzvah Shema, to love Hashem. Because until a person becomes a giver, and the Akaras which comes to be a giver, he can't achieve that love at all. Because that's the whole concept, is that Ava only comes from the Sina. If he can't be a no saint, he can't be a lover. So to love Hashem means to give to Hashem. And of course, it's mitoch shel lishma b'lishma. If you give to Hashem enough, eventually you'll come to love Hashem. But that it's okay. You can come from shel lishma to lishma, but you have to make sure to give to Hashem. Giving to Hashem all sorts of ways, but they're all based on Akaras HaTov. Yeah.
I'm curious. Isn't the first mitzvah Shema to be in column O Malchus Shemayim?
Yeah, but that's not explicit. In other words, we may use Shema as a way of being Kabbalah Omach Shemayim, but it doesn't say in Shema, do this.
V'hafta is that Hakaras HaTov.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Also, isn't there...
By the way, the way understand Ava Hafta in Shema, if you don't want to be like Rav Dessler, which is that Hashem tells you, I'll tell you how to love me. And Chazal say, "B'chol Levavcha is Yetzitov Yetzara." B'chol Nafshcha means with all your willing to be Moser Nefesh. Chol Modecha means your money. So if Rav Dess is saying Ava is intangible, and I think he's right. But if you want to argue on him, you would say no. Since it's intangible, the Torah gives concrete areas in which it would apply.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Okay.
I had just another point. So. There's this point of, it brings up in the beginning, so isn't there like a duality of perspective in the sense of we are his avadim, he acquired us from Mitzrayim. We have to do what he says. Right. Not necessarily from Ahava, from a perspective of Chiyuv.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, the first, there are two connotations, that's right. Yeah. The obligation and also the thankfulness.
I'm saying there's not necessarily Yira, but of that of...
Right.
I owe it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so that's the Safat Berkut Gimel, which is the end of Kuntres. The first, many other parts of Kuntres is HaChesed throughout the Michtav, but the main Kuntres HaChesed is the end. Vasher Amru, that which they said, L'basof kofer tovasa shel Kadosh Baruch Hu. At the end, he denies Hashem's goodness to him. Ma l'basof. What does it mean at the end? Something very deep here. We're going to explain it in briefly. And if I understand, you have to go deeper into it. A person dies. And he comes to the world of truth. Everything is going to be revealed to him as it actually is. He's going to know all the myriad mistakes which he made. And all the sins that he sinned his entire life and how bad they were. That's certainly true. There's no Yetzer Hara in that world. So, you can't have mistakes, right? In this world, the Yetzer Hara rationalizes. Say, not so bad, right? Well, they couldn't justify it, rationalize it this way, but in the world to come, that's emes. So how can somebody, obviously we should not be able to rationalize anything and say, it wasn't so bad, or I had an excuse, etc. But Chazal say, even when they're standing at the opening to Gehenna, they don't do tshuva. Don't they know now how badly they messed up? The opening of Gehenna. They realize, this is where I'm going because I did bad stuff. So how can I do tshuva at that point? It's a pella. It says, Achzel ben Yarnyan. So this is the way to explain it. What you know and what you strive for are two totally different things. Inki Dashi of Sidus Briu. So, person knows smoking cigarettes is bad, right? He knows smoking cigarettes is bad. Person knows eating rich foods is bad, right? But it doesn't matter. The fact that he knows it's bad doesn't save him. Oh, the vapor is here. Doesn't save him from pursuing his desire, right?
You always think it's terrible for you, but you think you're not that guy. You're against it.
They rationalize and they say that it's more good for them than it is bad.
No, I've heard them say, like, yeah, I'm not going to be the one that catches Yanamachla.
Yeah, but I think
Those
that's...
are the same guys, by the way, that buy the lottery ticket. Because they feel that they're going to win.
I tell myself that this does more good for me because it helps me relax and go through the day.
How do you convince yourself to drink? Knowing it's going to cause gout.
This one doesn't cause gout.
Very good.
So he says, again, Yediyah and Sheaf are two different things. Vinay loti krei tshuva. What's called tshuva is only when he leaves his averos and his bad deeds. But it's not, you don't leave your bad deeds behind just because you know they're bad. El b'shifa, it's only if you change what you strive for, which is much more difficult. Obviously, you can know that I'm doing. I can know that what I'm doing is not appropriate, and still I have a drive to do it. That's why people are walking contradictions. They're paradoxes. We all know things we do wrong, and we know they're wrong, but we want them anyway. So tshuva is not just knowing I'm doing wrong, but to uproot that. What a person strives for. For Yoki or Shuv, when he does tshuva, and changes the striving of his heart, and he doesn't sin like he did before, then tshuva is complete. So you know what? Our tshuva on Yom Kippur is always usually is a tshuva of Yediyah and not She'ifa, right? Because we know that we keep remind ourselves, okay, this is right and this is wrong, and I feel bad about the right and the things I did wrong, but it's not doesn't change Ram. That's why the next day I revert to form again. Now I think that by Ne'ilah, the end of the day, people sometimes even change their She'ifa. In other words, everybody feels that Ne'ilah, you know what, I don't want this anymore. I really want to be good.
So why do you say the bracha in Maravish by Yom Kippur?
Because by then it's over.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's how
Yes, right. It lasts through Birkos Kriya Shema of Marav. That's how long it lasts. Yes.
Is that why the Rambam says in Tshuva that you have to announce the Avera that you did so you own it, so to speak?
Well, if you did it in public, not if you did it in private.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Chazal tells us an amazing thing here. When a person dies, and he goes to the world of truth. Yeah, of course, the soul understands things as they are. And all of its mistakes are going to be clarified to it. But it's striving for the bad stuff, which it had in its lifetime. They're all already embedded in him. And this became part of his character. Okay, so even though in the mind, in the intellect, you'll know that these things are bad. Nevertheless, your striving means the same thing. Before we did, there's a famous mashal that there's a person who was a drunk his whole life, and finally, they managed to get him to kick the habit. Who went to whatever it was, the detox. What? AA. And then, and they're so proud of him. And then, when he's walking down the street, he sees a drunk lying in the gutter, and in a stupor. And his kids say to him, "Ta, you see what you once were?" So he goes over to the guy and whispers in his ear. So then kids ask him, "So what did you whisper in his ear?" So I asked him, "Where did he get such good stuff?" So it's very hard to change, even if you put a whole veneer on it. And that's a lot of people slip out of AA because it's a Band-Aid on a tumor.
I know someone who was a heavy smoker, and he always said, "I'm gonna quit on a pit." His daughter came over to him one day in front of me and said it by mistake. He goes, "Dad, are you gonna be there by my bar mitzvah?"
Oof.
Wow.
And he's like, "Oh, I gotta stop." The next day,
Still smoking.
it's hard. It's not
Yes.
easy.
I feel peace of Shaganim. Shukfaro imas tzara sarah kasher. They see how bad this was, and how much torts it's going to cause them. Eino chozim b'tshuva. Hashifa l'ros ha'ysolem l'kinya v'loti parein mehem. They have that drive to do bad stuff. By the way, they don't get into Ganem. To get into Ganem, I mentioned this in the past. Ganem is a schus. They are pisco shel Gehenim. They don't get in.
They float.
Right, they float. They're in a kafakela. They float back and forth, and finally, the taivas diminish themselves. But it could take a long time. So the Gehenim's only here, but kafakela could be a long, long time. Because Gehenim means true remorse. That's what Gehenim is. So they are pisco shel Gehenim. They don't get in. That's also by ingratitude. Somebody who has a material drive, and noitim as a taker, who cannot be grateful. Even in the end, when he reaches the world of truth, it's going to be not grateful to Hashem. He'll understand, he'll know, the necessity of being grateful, and how messed up he actually was. He can't do it. He can't feel gratitude. He feels the path. He's too much of a noto, and that's how he gets into his olam ames, still as a taker. So he says that the gratitude, like we said before, is connecting to Hashem. And he says a fascinating thing. When it says we sing to Hashem, doesn't mean we sing to Hashem. We thank Hashem. That's what the songs are about. Hodu Hashem kitov. Kilom chazdo. And how can you get to Olam Haba if he doesn't have that connection? That's the musar which Chazal gave to try and to try and tell people not grateful. In the end, right? Even when you get to Olam HaEmes, you won't have the character trait of thanking Hashem. You might have the knowledge you have to thank Hashem, but you won't feel it. By the way, that's a tremendous chisar in our kolel system. A huge chisar. Which is, and I don't know how we could get around it, which is, in kolel, and I talk about something who learned in kolel for 17 years, right? We're taught that we should take, and it's appropriate that we take. And you should be giving to me. Because I'm learning.
You're doing us a favor by taking it.
Right? I'm doing a favor by taking it, exactly.
Holding up the world.
What? Yes.
Holding up the world.
So so we're taught in yeshiva, you're a taker and be a taker. It's good. That's a big problem for even if it's true in some existential sense. It's still very bad for the midos. It really is bad for the midos, and therefore you have people who leave kollel and they become, white collar crime because they're takers, right? They never got to that situation of givers. It's a big problem. I still today I have this issue. I think every comes look, I'm me. Why are you not giving to me? I deserve it. So it is a problem. So it says, eventually, if a person has that attitude, so v'yomalok yafsid chas v'shon person can lose olam haba by having that attitude of taking.
Why? Because it's so ingrained in them?
Yeah. They can't, to connect with somebody means to reach out. And you can't reach out, you can't connect. You can't connect to Hashem, there's no olam haba. That's what olam haba is. I mean, not all of it, but that's the core of it is reaching out to Hashem, connecting to Hashem.
It's like gaiva in a sense.
Yeah. Right. If you're waiting around for Hashem to connect to you, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
You have to connect to Hashem. That means giving to Hashem, but you give that gratitude to the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Okay, shkoyach Rabbi Yisrael. Next week we'll figure out if any requests.